Aegir is an open source tool created by Uber for solving the end-to-end distributed tracing problem across microservices. In this video, we are going to leverage Spring Boot with Aegir and see how we can leverage Aegir to have end-to-end vision of our logs. I'll be creating an Aegir client and Aegir server microservice using Spring Boot, and we're going to create interaction between these two microservices and see how we can leverage Aegir to see the distributed tracing across these microservices. Let's get started.
Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss any update from Tech Primers.
Like always, I'm going to start with start.spring.io. I'm going to have the project as ComTech Primers. I'll be leveraging the Java language Maven project with 2.4.5 version of Spring Boot. We are going to create two different microservices. So I'll be creating one called as Aegir client, and I'm going to call the other one as Aegir server. That way we know one is a client and the other one is a server, and we will be able to create some log traceability across these two services. For the dependency purpose, I'm going to use the Spring Web dependency, Web Flux. So I'm going to use Spring with reactive components. So let's do that. Once the client is done, I'm going to create a server as well. Nothing is going to change there. I'm just going to create a new project. That's it. Let me open the terminal and I'll create a folder called as Spring Boot Aegir example. So I'll be moving both the microservices, the Aegir client into the same folder. I'll also open this with IntelliJ. The project got opened in IntelliJ, so let me go into the folder and see. Yeah, so there is a Aegir client and there is a Aegir server. So both are the same. In the dependency section, if you see, there is only Spring Web Flux. Let me go to the client first. So client is the one which we are going to access, and the client is going to interact with the server. So I'll be creating some endpoints in both the client and the server, but let's go to the client first. I want to have the Aegir dependency, so I'm going to have Aegir dependency added here. I already preloaded the dependency into my IntelliJ. So the version which I'm going to use is 3.3.1, and this is the dependency which I want to use. So it's called the Open Tracing Spring Aegir Web Starter, which is similar to the Spring Boot Starter, but it was created by the Aegir team. So using this, we can directly plug our Aegir into a Spring Boot application with less configuration changes. Now that's the dependency part. Let's go to the application code. So I can see there is a Spring Boot main class. So I want to add some configurations. So I'm going to add a folder called as, let's say, config. So within the config, I want to create a configuration which is specific to the Aegir configuration. So I'm going to add a class which I'm going to call as Aegir config. So that way it's all like separate from our existing classes and the folder. So I'm just creating a new folder. That's it. Within this particular configuration, I'm going to inject two different beans. One is the REST template or the web client. So I want to use the web client. So I'm going to use the web client to be injecting it. So I'm just creating public web client, and I will inject a web client because I'm going to use web client to connect from the client to the server. So I'll just name this particular method as web client as well. And I'm going to create this web client just to tell Spring Boot that use the same web client when I'm using Aegir. So Spring Boot is going to inject all the span ID, trace ID, all those into the web client when I'm going to inject during the startup time. So this will inject the web client instance, and we can use auto wiring to get or fetch the web client in our classes. So that's what I'm doing here. So I've created a bean, and also I'm going to create a new configuration for Aegir tracer. So Aegir has something called as Aegir tracer. We're going to create some configuration using the Aegir tracer. So I'll just name the method name again as Aegir tracer. So here it would require Aegir trace. So we can use the configuration class provided by Aegir. So I can just say configuration, which is under the IO Aegir tracing, and using that I can get it. So let me provide a name for this particular class. I'm going to call this as Aegir client. And under the configuration, I'm going to provide different samplers and reporters. So this is a configuration which is specific to the Aegir. So I'm just going to have some default values. So I'll just say default sampler configuration of type. We have to provide some types and parameters. So I'm just going to say some constant parameter type. Along with that, I'll pass some parameter which is like 1. So in addition to that, I will also need to provide with a reporter. So I'm going to provide a reporter, so using which we can say, do I want to log my request which are spanning across. So if I want to log those individual requests, Aegir will do that for us. So I can mention that new configuration, reporter configuration. This is the default configuration which is all provided by Aegir itself. So I'm going to enable it to true. And also finally I will be getting the tracer which we are going to return. So that's it. So we have a configuration for Aegir client with some default configurations with respect to reporting and sampling the data, right? And we are injecting it into the Aegir tracer for that. So that's it. This is the configuration which we would require. If you want to provide the application name, you can also provide the application name, so that we can just say spring.application.name, which is going to be equal to Aegir client. Also, I'm going to give the port number as server.port equal to 8081. So that way I want to use a different port rather than using 8080. So I'll just have this to configure. Apart from this, we are going to create a controller. Like always, I'm going to create a new folder called controller. So I'll be calling this particular controller as Aegir client controller. And also I'll provide the REST mappings as well. So I'll create a REST controller with request mapping, and I'll be providing Aegir/client as the endpoint. Within that, I'm going to have some get mapping. So I'm going to provide a default one. Let's say we don't want to provide anything else, and I want to get some return type which is going to be mono. So I want to return a single response. I don't want to stream it, or I don't want to use like the flux one. So I'm going to use a single response, and I'll just say for now get, because that's the only method. So when I access the Aegir client, it's going to call a server, right? Simple one, I mean, no complicated logic involved here, but we are going to return some facts around something, right? So if you provide a number, it's going to return some facts. So in order to get that specific fact which is specific to a number, I'm going to provide the number here. So I'll add a path variable here. So I'll just add the variable as ID, right? And here I will just say path variable as ID. So we got the ID. So whatever number you pass, we are going to pass that to the Aegir server, and Aegir server is going to call something called as a numbers API, which we are going to use. So for now, I'm just going to consume the number, and I'm going to call the Aegir server. So in order to call that, I will just leverage the service. So I'm going to create a Aegir client service. I'm going to inject that particular service, and I'm going to create a method called get, and I'll pass the ID. That's it. So I'm not doing anything fancy here. I'll just return whatever this guy needs to return. So the class doesn't exist, so let's create the class. I'm annotating it with service so that we know it's a service. Also, we need to create the method called get. So I'll go and create that as well. It's going to be returning mono because the same is returned by the endpoint in the controller. So this particular ID is what we are going to pass to the server side. So we're going to leverage the web client for injecting, for calling the endpoint. So I'm going to use the web client. I'm marking this as web client as private, and I'm going to add a constructor parameter so that I can get it injected. So using the web client variable, I'm going to do a get, because I want to again do a get on a particular URL. That particular URL is going to be the localhost 8082. Let's create the server in 8082. Okay, and also we will create an endpoint called as Agar slash server slash the corresponding ID. So we will be passing this particular URI and we are going to retrieve the data, right? So once we retrieve the data, we are going to convert that into a mono of type string dot class. So this is what I want to return. So directly I can do the return. That's it. So I'm using the web client, calling the localhost 8082 with an endpoint called Agar server, and then I'm passing the integer again, and then I'm just retrieving it and then converting into a mono and then sending it back. So we are going to create the server with exactly the same things what we did with the client, but with just the server, and the server will connect to a numbers public API, which I'll show you in a bit. So I think that's it. So we don't have to do any other configuration, right? So we're just trying to create a simple dummy application so that we know how to trace request across microservices. So I'm going to create all these files into the server application as well. So let me copy paste it and then we can change all these stuff, right? So let me go and change this, refactor, rename. I want to change the service name as server service. I also want to create a controller folder. Let me create it. And also the configuration. So I'll be dropping the configuration there and also the server here. So let me go to the controller and I want to rename the controller as Agar server controller. Done. So within the Agar server controller, I'm going to use the Agar server service. Done. So I've changed all the clients to server and I'm also creating a Agar service, and here also I need to create the server. So let me go inside the service, and here instead of calling the Agar endpoint here, we are going to call the numbers API. So let me go to the web page to show you what is the numbers API. So this is the numbers API. I'm going to give a number and it will return a random fact about that particular number. So here I have just passed 11 and it's returning me something. So if I refresh again, I will get a different fact, right? So these are the different facts and it's a public API. So I'm going to consume the same API into my application. So instead of the local host, I want to create a API call to this particular public API, and I'm passing the ID whatever we passed from the client. So when I hit the client using the controller, the same is passed to the server, and from the server we are calling the numbers API and we get the string and then we just return it back to the client, right? That's what we are going to do. And in the server we have added the controller configuration. So I think we are well and good here. Coming back to the configuration, so we need to have some configuration. So we already added some configuration, so let's correct that. Here instead of using the client, I'm going to use the server. Also the Agar was not added in this project, so let me go to the red options are all because Agar is still not detected in this project because we didn't add it in the POM XML. So let me go to the POM and I will add the Agar dependency. So done. Right now I should be able to re-import the Maven project, and once it's re-imported I should be able to see the issues gone away. Yeah, so I have changed the configuration name as Agar server and all the other parameters are same. So I also have the web client here because I'm using the server to connect to the external numbers API. So that's why I have that here. Meanwhile, I think I can remove this. Yep. So I think the server is also ready. The client is ready. In the server side, we need to add some configuration. So I will just say spring.application.name, which is going to be Agar server. Also the server port is going to be 8082. That's it. So we have the server ready, we have the client ready. Also we need to have the Agar running in the background, right? So I'm going to leverage Docker for it. So I'll be running the Agar via Docker. So I'm just going to run it. So this is the command I'm using, docker run, and I'll be providing the port number mappings and also what is the image. So image is called Agar tracing all in one, and I'm using the 1.9 version of Agar, and I'm exposing two different ports, one for my application to connect and the other for my UI to be connected. So the UI will be running in 16686 and my application by default, the Spring Boot application connects to 6831. If you want to change this particular port, you can change that in the Aegir configuration Java class which we wrote, but for now it's a default configuration, so I'm not going to change it. So let's start this particular app in the background as a Docker file, and let's go to the UI and then hit the local host 16686. This should bring our Aegir UI. So you can see the Aegir UI. Right now there are no services registered with this particular application, so it's like an agent which is running and our applications will be connected to this particular Aegir instance. So let's bring our applications up, both the client and the server, and then we can see whether it is getting connected or not. So before bringing these apps up, I just wanted to make sure I ran the Maven clean install in both the projects. So let me do the Maven clean install so that we can get a clean build out of them. So both the Maven installs are running, so both should get succeeded. We didn't have anything complex, it's just an API call from here to there. So the client is successful and the server is also almost successful. Yeah, it's successful. Now let's run the client. So the client is up now in the port 8081 and let's run the server. So the server is also up. Let's go to the UI, which is the Aegir dashboard. Right now you can see that there is by default Aegir query, which is the default one using which we can query. So there is nothing else right now. I'm going to trigger the endpoint which we created. So we created this endpoint called as Aegir client and then we provided an ID. So I'm going to use the endpoint to trigger our request localhost 8081 and I created Aegir client and I'm going to pass some ID. So let me pass 3. This should go connect to the backend server and from the server it should go to the numbers API and it should retrieve some data. So see that it's already returned the data, right? So that means our request succeeded. So now let me go to the Aegir UI and then see what happened. If I click on find traces, I can see that my operations are all happening. So here I selected only service 1. Let's refresh this and then see there are 2 other services. So I can trace what happened from the client and I also can trace what happened from the server. Let's trace from the client so that way we will know there are different spans across microservices. So I have clicked the client and I can see there are 2 calls, one from the client and one from the server. So let me click on this and you can see that how things are getting navigated, right? So I see that from the controller it went to the service and from the service it went to the other microservice, which is the Aegir server, right? And you can see all those requests here, whatever we sent, it's all present here, right? And I can just make a clear distinction on how long it took, right? For example, this particular workflow took a bit longer because we had this returning within 700 milliseconds. You can also trace this particular request by the trace ID. For example, if you know the trace ID from logs, you can come to Aegir UI and then just trace across the microservices. Now if I search specific to server, I will still be able to see it, but it will be only specific to the Aegir server. So I won't see how it originated because the originated service was the Aegir client. So that's why I was able to see from the client how many spans are there. So it just went across. So this is how you can leverage Spring Boot with Aegir for distributed tracing. There are a lot of features which are provided by Aegir. I'm not showing every one of them, but you can leverage it for identifying what issues are present, how long your service is going to take. For example, this service took 1 second. Right now, if you want to reduce this to less than 1 second, then you can easily identify where the things are going wrong. So if you see, we are doing multiple hops and we are connecting to a third-party API. So we need to see how much time the third-party API is also taking in, which is the 600 milliseconds. And that's why it took longer. You can see that when I clicked on the 600 milliseconds workflow, I can see that this is an API which is calling the numbers API and it took 600 milliseconds because the API took that much time, right? And our system did not add much value or much time delay into the whole process. This is how you can leverage Aegir for distributed tracing within your microservices. I'll just summarize what we did. We created two different microservices. One was called the Jaeger client, the other was called the Jaeger server. We created dependencies for the Jaeger web starter using the OpenTracing Spring Jaeger web starter in both the client and the server side. We added some configuration for Jaeger configuration, using which we were able to provide a name for our microservice and also provide some default configurations for the Jaeger tracer. We also injected the web client so that Spring Boot can automatically add trace IDs into the web client. The same thing was done in the client side as well. We exposed a controller using which we were calling the client, and the client was calling the server, and in the server we were calling the numbers API, and the numbers API was called from the service layer here. In order to bring up Jaeger UI, we used Docker for running Jaeger. So we have the Docker command which is present here. So I will leave this also in the repository, so you can get these command, you can get this command also in the readme of the repository as well. I hope you were able to understand how to set up Jaeger with Spring Boot. Do check out the different features in Jaeger UI and let me know what feature you like the most. As always, if you like the video, go ahead and like it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to it. Meet you again in the next video. Thank you very much.